Welcome back to the Hollywood Music Workshop podcast. Today we have the honor of not having only one guest, two guests, perhaps even three. So I want to welcome Conrad Pope, the Dean of the Hollywood Music Workshop, who's been a long-standing friend and teacher at the Hollywood Music Workshop, worked on about 400 motion pictures, and collaborated, for instance, with John Williams, Alexander Desplat, and Silvestri, and Hans Zimmer. Welcome to the Hollywood Music Workshop podcast.
Glad to be here. Good to see you, Rolf.
Good to see you as well. And here we also have Dimitrie Leivici, the founder of the Hollywood Music Workshop and the director of the workshop, and also a concertmaster who's also operated at the Vienna Synchron Stage. From how many years ago was that?
Exactly 10 years ago.
Fantastic. So welcome back to the Hollywood Music Workshop podcast, Dimitrie.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here and glad to have Conrad, our old buddy, partner in crime, as we call him, after all those years, be present and talking to us.
So before we get to talking
about...
Go ahead.
I wanted to simply say, Dimitrie was one of the founding fathers at the Synchron Stage. He was one of the first people he was the concertmaster of the first orchestra. He helped them get organized because he brought all of his expertise from Hollywood to Vienna and helped get the Synchron off on the right foot, and that's why it's such an astounding venue today to record in, and is the go-to place for composers from every country, and not just Europe. It's a major destination for Hollywood films, Netflix films, and I have yet to meet anyone that came away from the Synchron experience and had them say, that was bad. They all come away saying, I can't wait to go back. And it's in large part due to Dimitrie's professionalism in bringing Hollywood standards, so to speak, to Vienna. I'm sure the Viennese would not like that, but we can say that Vienna brought Vienna standards to Hollywood too, because it's been a two-way street since the 30s. And so that's what's so wonderful about today, is that we're able to keep that dialogue going in the arts between us. And it's easier today because of things like this and the computer and the communication that we have. And that's one of the reasons I'm excited to be part of this, because I even went to the Hochschule in Munich. I was so entranced with the German tradition, and it certainly has influenced me. And it's just a great pleasure to see that that we can all get along in music, and that we have a common background that we can share. And I just wanted to point out, Dimitrie's not only the founder of the Hollywood Music Workshop, because he sensed that everyone in Europe wanted to know these techniques as well. And it's been very, very successful. And so the Hollywood Music Workshop, and then on the Synchron Stage. And so without Dimitrie, none of us would be here today. And we wouldn't have this great program that we're going to be having. So
well, that's very nice for me to say so. Very nice of you to say so, Conrad. And I only can play the ball right back. When Synchron contacted me some 11 years ago about building, actually they did have the building already, but establishing this recording venue, and wanted to know who else we could consider in helping coming from Hollywood. My first choice was, well, if we can get Conrad, we are very lucky. And Conrad, I spoke to him, and of course, because Conrad had also had the German-Austrian heritage a little, and knew a lot about the circumstances in Europe. So he was the perfect person to have come and work with the orchestra. He has a wonderful personal way of talking. People love him right away. I mean, I rarely have seen anybody so much loved in this business than Conrad is. Whether it's producers, musicians, anybody involved with the stage, Conrad is really, I want to say the Pope.
He is the Pope. He's the Dean.
He's the Pope, right. So he was, of course, first choice, and luckily he could say yes, because he was going to be in Europe anyway. And so we found, of course, also Dennis Sands had gotten involved. He had been approached already by Synchron. And then we also brought the first horn player from the studios, James Thatcher. So we were the four musketeers who did the very first recording at Synchron and helped them. And the orchestra was wonderful right from the beginning. They were trying very hard to, and excited, of course, also being partner of Hollywood in that sense, But I have to admit one thing which is overwhelming, and I'm sure Conrad can also attest to that fact, is that when you walk onto that stage, magic happens just when you open these doors. I don't want to go into details right now, so I invite everybody who comes there to make one of the tours of that studio to see how wonderful it was worked and built incredibly. I mean, we had one time a guy with a jackhammer, because they still were doing some sort of construction nearby, with a guy with a jackhammer right outside the studio door. We couldn't hear anything, you know.
Incredible.
It was incredible. And honestly, at the time, the air conditioning was going, and it was going through the recording session. We used to record Conrad Alive, you know, at Todd AO, which was a very famous studio in Hollywood, and they always had to turn off the air conditioning during the recording, which made it tough for us musicians, you know. So basically the stage was, but the acoustic properties, and I would invite Conrad to speak a little about it, are so wonderful in that place.
Yeah.
I mean, he had, maybe Conrad, you can elaborate a little bit about the sound.
May I interject? Because
Right.
But just want to get the facts correct about what's happening, what the class is going to be, just so we have that at the beginning. So Conrad's going to be teaching the holy grail of master classes, I would say, at the Synchron Stage, together with the Hollywood Music Workshop in July, from July 6 to July 11 this summer. And the classes are going to be held in Baden, but the recording session, the final thing of the class is going to be at Synchron. And you can apply to this. We still have a few seats left, and you should really think about this, because it's a once-in-a-lifetime chance. I guarantee you that.
Right. So anyway, basically what I wanted to say, Conrad, maybe you can, on a technical term, also talk. I mean, for me as a soloist, when I recorded a couple of pieces like Nan Schwartz, your wife's wonderful piece from Side, it's a solo recording. We have it, even part of it featured on our website. This feeling you have as a soloist is like a never-ending feeling where the sound can reach every corner of this place. Yet not having a so-called garage effect, you know, like you play in a bathroom or somewhere, overwhelming. So how would you consider, from your experiences over the years, comparing to some of the other stages, what makes Synchron so iconic?
I think that it's always amazing to me. Let me just first state that it is a great stage, and that's what amazes me is the genius of the German people, that this was a stage built before we had all the acoustics and all the various physics things that had, like you have at the Elbphilharmonie, where they have so many, they had to do it with computers. These guys built this stage like it was a great concert hall, almost a temple to music. And you walk in, and the ceilings and it's very high, and it's actually a building within a building. Like Dimitrie was saying, you can have a jackhammer outside, but it's also encased within a building, so that there's this airspace that separates you from the outside. So it's truly walking into this inner sanctum of music. And like Todd AO, or unlike Todd AO, it's all wood. Everything has been, as my wife said, after I told her that when you go to the Synchron, this was the people that rebuilt it. They thought of everything, and they have music stands that were made specifically for this stage. The floors are perfect. Like when I talk to people about recording stages and what you look for, I always go into a recording stage and I walk around, because I want to see where the boards creak. I want to see what the noise is. At Synchron, everything is just perfectly nailed down. It is a silent stage, and as Dimitrie said, what's great is that you have a sense of the space of the music can blossom within the room. But unlike Todd AO in the old days, the musicians can actually hear each other. It's a very compatible orchestra setting where you can hear across to the basses, you can hear across to the various sections, and that it encourages ensemble playing for the players. So I think it must be a very gratifying experience for them. And I remember when you go there and it's just perfect. They've thought of everything. There's no noise. As a conductor, you can get a really good sense of what the thing is going to sound like acoustically. Like Dimitrie is saying, there's not a lot of reverb, and it just makes you want to make music. The warmth of the wood, the whole sense of the lighting, it is it's aesthetically beautiful, and it sort of asks you to be to sort of live up to its standards. So even walking into that space, it challenges you to bring your A game, as we say here in America, or just you want to be worthy of being in the place. And so it elevates every project that comes there because it elevates the people that have to make. And so that is what's so magical about that, because we're all musicians, and oftentimes we can feel like our art's not valued like it should be, or that we have to play in places that are not very good, or that the recording equipment is no good. And that's the other thing about Synchron Stage, is that what's so amazing is not only is the physical properties of the building so marvelous, they've thought about how to mic it, what the microphones are, the board. As I tell people, maybe more than getting a good orchestrator, always be sure of who's going to record your music and what's the equipment it's going to be taken in. Because you can go to a very good hall, but it's like, if you haven't got good microphones and you haven't got a good board and you haven't got good technicians, it's kind of like having a beautiful movie studio and then going with your iPhone to to sort of make the movie that you're doing. That's what's great about Synchron, is that you have state of the art in so many ways. And not only do you have state of the art in terms of the actual electronic equipment and the microphones and the boards, they also have a phenomenal selection of percussion instruments and pianos. And you can they made possible for you to make the kind of music for the piano, say, that any of us that play piano would want. You could got your choice of pianos and types and sounds that you want. And then with the percussion, they have this remarkable live percussion set that I wrote a piece for in the early days to sort of celebrate the percussion that we had a concert at the Synchron Stage, where I wrote a piece for all the pianos and the harps and everything and the percussion. And if you're a composer and you go there, you should really take advantage of these marvelous, wonderful sounding instruments. Because if you know anything about percussion, there's a difference between a cheap cymbal and a great cymbal. And
Yes.
they know the difference. And that's the other reason.
Excuse me, can we find this piece? Is it available somewhere? Because I'd love to have that even sent out to all of our participants.
It was up on this. Ask Stefan if it's somewhere in the archives there. Just play a snippet or two of it. I mean, it's enough to get the sense of theme. We actually had a percussion ensemble from Vienna that they specialize in this, and we had various stations of all the instruments and whatnot. And so you might take a look at that, because certainly that's one of the I would go there.
Yeah, absolutely. Overall, to be said, that it is an incredible experience, performance-wise. The result that comes from it, I mean, I can only imagine. Because Conrad wrote several pieces. He also wrote this wonderful piece for the different pianos. Remember, you did that where they actually were able to highlight the top pianos that they had, the best of the best, Hamburg Steinway, Brand Bösendorfer, and that top Yamaha. And then he wrote a piece for all three pianos, which is incredible because you can hear the high quality these instruments have to begin with, but then you can also hear the subtle differences of these instruments. And Conrad, because genius that he is, he can always highlight these things. He's the man. Sorry, that Conrad is the man that you can go to and say, Conrad, I've got a problem. I need to solve this. How do I do it? And Conrad is the guy who always finds. That what makes this man so incredible, wonderful, and me, his permanent admirer. I admire this man. I can't even tell you how much. And of course, there's some funny stories where you can talk to Conrad about anything, geopolitically included, about anything in the world going on. And this man knows about it, has an answer for it. He's a walking genius, walking encyclopedias, or whatever you want to call it. So,
and moreover, you're always entertained.
Well, that is the other thing. I mean, Conrad can come up with statements.
I can't listen to Conrad without having a smile on my face. It's just
always. I mean, he has a way of. the best situation was when we were riding together in a car in Europe, Conrad, myself, and Dennis Sands. The combination of Dennis Sands and Conrad is one of the funniest, most entertaining you can ever imagine. We never stopped laughing and having a good time, and yet still producing phenomenal film, because there's such a deep friendship and respect for each other as well, that with a good mood and this friendship, respect, produces wonderful, wonderful results. And that's so great about Conrad. Conrad has this disarming way of, now he can also be pissed. I mean, he has proven it a couple of times that when he gets angry, you know, he can start like going horns almost. Remember, Conrad?
Yeah.
But overall, he is the most wonderful guy you can imagine and be lucky with to work with. And I only can hope that some of these composer knuckleheads, you know, out there, and even the big ones among them, you know, know that and understand this, you know. Also, the students who are in the class, look at them. We have several photographs on our website that shows from past classes, because Conrad has been with the Hollywood Music Workshop for over 10 years, like 12 years or so, 12 or 13 years.
13. This will be 13 or 14.
Right, and you can see the happiness on people's faces.
Yeah.
I mean, the happiness, learning, studying afterwards, of course, when we went out, had a good time in one of the places, you know, pubs or something, and you really can see this incredible and love that they have for the man as well. And of course,
and if I may interject with just a personal story, because I started studying at the Conrad Pope summer classes back in 2019. I remember my former boss, I was his assistant, he sent me away. It was Pessi. He said, if you want to work with me, you need to study with Conrad. And I remember listening to the first class, and in 15 minutes, I sent him a text saying, yes, I'm at the right place. Because I could just see with Conrad the combination of the academic knowledge, but also the kind of commercial, the commercial output, if you may. You need to know all this, have all this knowledge, but you need to get stuff done very fast, and that's why you've been paying attention throughout your life. And that's what you always say, that you're not a teacher, but you're somebody who knows a lot of things. But I think your specialty is that you are very willing and very knowledgeable at sharing, and that's the gift that we can have as your students.
Well, the man is wonderful, and as I said, usually I said to people, well, if they want, well, I will try to answer as well. It's up to you. Make sure you sign up to any of his classes. He teaches in several places throughout the world. But try to catch him anywhere you can. Of course, we invite you to come to Austria and all that, but try to at least get a little bit to understand what is behind, what can be behind the film music making. Sadly, as I said, being exposed to so much over the last 45 years I've worked in this field now, I'm an old man. I can come back all the way to the mid-70s when I began working here. He's about the only one I can think, maybe one or two other exceptions, that really had this combination that I just described a little earlier, you know, humanity, incredible knowledge, experience beyond belief, the man that he has, and still a willingness to be helpful. He's not bitter. A lot of folks in his position or age or something I've seen so much are bitter. He never shows it. He always initially shows the enthusiasm he has for things. You know, as I said, I just don't want to sound stupid and brushing his ego, but the truth is, the man is incredible, you know, and if you have the chance to work with him, if you have the chance to learn from him, please do so, because tradition is what he can do, but also he cannot be on the modern side of it. He's understanding anything you need. You can throw anything at this man, you know. And we are very lucky, very fortunate. Conrad, and it has been an incredible journey with him. We traveled a lot. We even had accidents on the Austrian freeway with him. One night when we crashed into something, and we survived it. And I mean, as I said, with Conrad, everything can happen sometimes, you know. It's wonderful. But, you know, I really cherish all those memories I have with you, you know, when we worked so hard, and then also the experiences. And he still can enjoy also some things, like we walked into Mozart's house in Salzburg, and Conrad just lit up, because the experience when you go into this place from this genius, one of the greatest people that ever lived in music, Mozart himself, and the environment. Being in there, and he kept us on to that. He's never been blasé about things. He's never been, well, okay, I've seen it, done that, and none of that, which is such a typical stupidity of some people in this industry in Hollywood. They take everything for granted. Now they have seen everything. Not with him. It's everything. It's a new day. Is a new day. So thank you, Conrad, for all I can say, for all these experiences, adventures we had with you over the years, and I hope we still continue to do so. But we made you our dean, and we've even tried to we have done already one music workshop over here in the States too. The possibility is some things might be in the works for the future here as well. But he's always my first person to go to and talk about it.
And so, I look forward to this summer because one of the reasons I'll just say thanks, Dimitrie, for all those kind words. And it has been an adventure. And thank you for opening me up to Vienna and opening a new door in my life that I found very rewarding. And I think it was at the proper time in my career that I did this, because one of my teachers when I was a youngster, he was Austrian. And he once told me, he said, Conrad, a good musician plays a little, thinks a little, and teaches a little.
Yeah.
And that's all by way of saying, yes, music is an apprenticeship business, really. The way to learn is not from a book, but it's by doing. And it's by knowing people that will take you under their wing and show you the ropes. That's what I used to say, is that one of my favorite things about the Vienna Philharmonic would be that I could go there and the outside chairs on the violins had gray hair or no hair, and the inside chairs had long hair and pimples, and they were there to learn how to turn a page and then how to bow and work your way up. And that's how I sort of view this class that I do, is I try to share my experience working with musicians, because I love musicians. I love composers, I love orchestrators, but I really love the people that perform. I love the people that have to copy the music, the people that make this all happen. And this summer, what I want to give everyone a sense of is that everyone probably knows that they want to be a composer, but as Lionel Newman, I think, once said, or I heard, was that when he was head of music at 20th Century Fox, a composer once made some people work on Christmas Eve because he wanted to go skiing. And that, of course, cost a lot of money to Fox for that. And so Lionel basically told this chap, he said, look, you might be at the top of the pyramid, but there are lots of stones underneath you. And when you don't take care of them, you'll find you're just back at the desert floor without them. And that's what I want to give a sense of all the talents that go into making a score successful, and how you'd have to deal with all kinds of people, not just say for my experience, like what I'm doing right now. I have to deal with the composer, but I also have to deal like with the composer with the studio, and I have to deal with the recording engineer. I have to be able to communicate what kind of score we're going to have, how we're going to record it, what's important in the score, what needs to be closely mic'd, what needs to have the kinds of imagery, because really a recording session is the oral's equivalent of filming the movie, right? Because you're capturing these performances and you have to get the actors, in this case, are going to be the musicians. How do you write effectively so that you get the performance you want and have the performers know what their character is, so to speak? What do they have to bring to make your music live? And that's what's so great about the studio musicians in Hollywood. And one of these great traditions is that they can play almost any style and we're up to anything put in front of them. And so this summer, when I'm talking about recording, I'm going to try to give everyone a sense not only of the great day when we go in and record, and it's so exciting to hear 60-piece orchestra come to life and play your music, I want you to understand what it took to copy the music, make the parts, how to sketch. What should you think about before you even write a piece? What's going to be a problem in the orchestra that you might not think about? Why is it probably something where, believe it or not, given what kind of music you write, keys of G, D, C, A all work perfectly. I wonder why, maybe, or E. Those are the open strings on most of the string instruments. And if you know that, the chances are you're not going to go out of range. Whereas if you write in the key of F major and you've got something that is going to go down with the violins, they haven't got an F on their G string. So I want to make people know that just the selection of even the keys that you use are going to determine the strength you can bring to your music, the strength you can have in your lines. That if you have a really strong line and you're in the key of F, but you need that low F, you won't get it except with the violas. Yeah. But that won't be the thing that you need. And I want to make people aware of this because I think too often with samples, we get so used to the samples going, oh, it's okay. We'll give you that out of range note. We know that the violin doesn't have the F, but we'll give you an F. And so I see people when I've worked with less experienced composers that they tend to believe the synthesizer and not their ears and not be attuned to what is it that makes the player want to play your music and what do you have to do to make them be able to give great performances. And so like I was saying, we're going to talk about copying because a really well-conceived of part for an instrument and that's idiomatic for the instrument is like a love letter to that player. And it's when they get a love letter on a session, they will play it like they love it. They will play it like you need it. And so it's really trying to communicate through the dots and white spaces and lines to have that translate into a great performance. And then also knowing your piece and knowing how you have strategies to record it, because some of the stuff you might be going, this is going to be a tricky bit here. This will be a less tricky bit here. What stuff do I maybe have to rehearse? And what's hard today about rehearsing is that people at times will only have their click track. And when you have the click track, it's not variable enough. So you have to either be skilled enough to sort of get it on the stick. You have to have your score in your head, not your head in the score. And that's even important when you're doing film music. I always tell the story of when I first came to Hollywood and began. One of the first sessions I went to was with John Williams conducting his score to Born on the 4th of July. And what was so impressive to me at that time, and still is that John only looked two places when he was conducting his music. He looked at the orchestra and he looked at the screen where the movie was being projected. And it was clear that he knew his music intimately and he knew who to address in the course of the playing. And I want to sort of convey that to you, that it's not just getting up there and following the click track, but it's making a connection with the players. Because the more that you can engage with them as a person, not just engage with the score and show your hands beating the time, but more that you can look at them, encourage them to play, make them feel welcome. John Neufeld, my mentor, told me that he as a young man, he was going to be first clarinet on My Fair Lady for the first time. And he got to the stage and the first thing up was going to be a clarinet solo. And he said he was wondering what he's going to do. And he said he always didn't like solos because you always felt so alone when you had the studio. And he said, so he started to play and he looked up at the conductor and it was Andre Previn. And he said Andre was looking at him and inviting him to play. And he said he felt embraced and he felt like he was being helped and invited to make the best music possible. And there are these things that might not seem particularly technical, but they're very important to enhance your experience of making music because really it's about how it makes us feel. It's about the emotions that we can express and the emotions that we can bring out in others. And so I want to have a more holistic approach, not just the technical features like I was saying about the keys that you pick and the ranges of the instrument and what goes here and what goes there, what's going to blur your rhythmic idea if you put this there or that there, these sort of craft things. I want the students to get a sense of that. It's a great experience, not only from the loneliness of your room when you're writing your piece, but also when you go in front of the orchestra and you're with your fellow musicians. Because as I just wrote, a colleague of mine who sent me a performance of one of his pieces that was brilliant. I mean, utterly brilliant. It was a big band piece, actually. But as I wrote him, I said, the composer's greatest compliment, the greatest compliment a composer can have is to have the musicians love your music and play it like they do. And when
That's
you
correct.
can do that, then you've been successful, because it's that whole chain of everyone I was talking about is completed. Because if all of us bring that kind of joy and excitement about at every level, whether it's from the inception of the piece to the final mix of the piece, and all the labor in between and the people that help you with that, if we all have that kind of joy, I think that we can all make our music better and make people listen to it and have better life.
That's perfect. And that's very moving, but it's also very true, all of that. And I believe in what you say 100%. And I hate to do this because, I think I would love to continue the conversation, but I have just one more question. I just want to ask, because participants are going to be watching this and they want to know what they should do now. It's the end of March or it's the beginning of April when they listen to this, and they have X amount of time and they probably should be doing something, at least thinking about the class. What should they be thinking about? How should they prepare, if any? So perhaps that would be my final question for now.
If you're thinking about taking the class, think about what it is that you'd like to write. Think about what it would be for the 60 pieces. Think about what it is that you'd like to learn. Like I tell people, I'm not a teacher, but I do know things. And if you come with questions, I can answer them. Right now, if you're thinking about taking the class, try to think of the kind of piece that would best represent what you love in music, what you want to listen to, and what you want to perform. Take this as an advantage to find your voice with the orchestra. And so I'd be thinking about that. And if you do take the class, when we start, I will be talking over Zoom with members of the class about how to sketch and what we're going to go from the ground up. And I'll try to solve problems before they become problems on the stage. Because as Lionel Newman used to say, write your score at home, don't write it on the stage. And so often we end up rewriting everything on the stage. But I will even talk about that, how to sort of write music in a way that you anticipate problems. Because people ask me, they say, what do you do for a living? I never tell them that I'm a composer or an orchestrator or a conductor. I just simply say, I solve problems. And that means I anticipate problems. And I want to give you some skills about anticipating the problems and being able to wow people with your immediate solutions when something comes up that isn't right, but you've already anticipated what they might want and you've already prepared for it. So we're going to cover a bunch of things. And what's really good about this is that we'll get to know each other pretty well, because we're going to have the classes in Baden, which is a beautiful city just outside of Vienna. And it's where Beethoven summered. So that gives you an idea. If it's good enough for Beethoven in the summer, it's good enough for us. And you can walk the same walk that Beethoven took and probably hear more than he did. No, haha. No. But what's really good about Baden is that it's a small village, and it sort of brings things back to life and to human size. Because I think today, particularly with the computers and with all the gadgetry that we work with, we sometimes are alienated from the fact that music is really a tactile thing. It's still things we feel through our fingers and in our ears, and it's something that we experience physically. And same with friendship and with seeing people. In that village, you'll run into each other at the same restaurants. You'll probably see me and come over and have some schnitzel with me or a beer or something. And
Or both.
Or both, or maybe one or two, or why stop there? This is all my way of saying it's more of a community. And that's what's so great about the Hollywood Music Workshop, and why it's unlike anything else I do, is that it's a real chance of that. It's more like what I think of as an American. I was very fond of being, as a student, at Tanglewood, which is a music festival in the Berkshires run by the BSO. And I always wanted the Hollywood Music Workshop to be like Tanglewood, or one of these retreats where the relationships that you form at the workshop, and this seems to be true, are relationships you have throughout your working life. And it will just expand your horizons and will expand your friends and the countries that they are from. And so that's what I love about being in Baden. It contains things, makes it more intimate, and it makes it more personal. And then we'll go to the Synchron Stage.
Yes.
Also, what's kind of important,
100%.
especially maybe here, is that as of recently, that concept proved itself by Academy Award winning song, which had 3 of our students working together on that song.
Yes.
And of course, we have also even the Grammy Award winner, Marcus Ilko, who won last year the Grammy Award, who also has been a student for a couple of times. So we got award winners, we got people who worked on other important collaborations.
And working professionals of all ages.
As well as 2 people who actually moved over to the United States and are working right now in Hollywood and started off at our workshop. And that is something which makes all of us happy, that we actually contributed to people's success in their lives.
So,
welcome, Stefan. So as
Hi, Stefan.
we told you right now, we already spoken, kind of highlighted the special thing about Synchron, which of course one has to admit is of course you guys, but also the stage itself, which is a phenomenal recording facility, and specifically the properties of sound that you guys have. We spoke about from the point of view that Conrad spoke, as a person who just, records there and arranges, conducts, and so forth. And then myself as the performer himself, who is on the stage and actually gets to experience that, So now it's, of course, left up to the stage themselves to speak. So we invite you, Stefan, now to maybe tell us a little bit something about we spoke about the 10-year anniversary that's coming up right now, which is unbelievable. 10 years go by so fast, but
yes,
it is what it is. And we talked about how great, even at the beginning, you guys were, how phenomenal the attention of the orchestra was, of course, and so forth. And so we'd like to know now, from your point of view, what has transpired in those 10 years, as well as where are you guys today? Of course, when we get there, but of course, where are you guys today, and what has been your success so far over the last 10 years? Where are you right now with that stage?
Well, thank you, Dimitri. Thank you, Conrad, for coming in. And I can only say, like, those 10 years, you guys will remember 10 years ago, we've had the first initial recordings with you, Dimitri, and Conrad, and it's been a wonderful kickoff, really, for a story that don't many think would have been possible. We've had such a great time with you, Conrad and Dimitri, telling our musicians how sessions are, how American clients are used to work with orchestra. And since then, things really started to kick off pretty quickly. We've got the first initial recording with The Crown, with Rupert Gregson Williams' score, and shortly after, Hans Zimmer chimed in with Inferno. I will never forget that session. And our most recent credits are Marvel Daredevil. That was actually the 12th Marvel TV streaming show that we did in our last 5 years of history with Marvel. And it's been really like the foundation of everything has been the very first session with you guys 10 years ago. And I'm so happy to be able to welcome you back, to welcome back the Hollywood Music Workshop, to welcome back Conrad. It will be such a great honor to have you back, and really looking forward.
I'm looking forward to it, Stefan. And if I may just briefly say about what's one of the great things about the Synchron Stage, there's also something I'd say about, I'll just say first about the Synchron Stage, is that you can tell that it's not a business. It's not a place where you come in, you might do business there, but you're embraced like family. There's a real care about your Herb and Sabina make a very welcoming atmosphere on all of you, and you'll have so many wonderful work suites and everything else. But you come, you have your coffee, you make your music, and it's a very interpersonal relationship that is great. And it's similar to Abbey Road. It's similar to Air. Some of the great recording studios, it's like a common endeavor that it's very welcoming and you feel supported the moment that you walk in. And that's what's so great about the Synchron Stage. And Vienna in general has just blossomed with, because of Synchron, you've also had a boom in music preparation, copying. So many other skills and so many new kinds of jobs have been brought to Vienna, and new kind of people with new hopes and dreams. All the young people can now say that Synchron is a place to come and work and make music. And so that's what's so great about it, is that it's not business, it's music making, very human, even though we all do some business occasionally.
Yes, it is. It is a business, but I'm so thankful to say that, Conrad, because to us it's really it's not the job. To us, it's connecting with people and making other people's scores become the best they can sound, and help each other out and work hard on that vision. So I'm so happy you say that, Conrad. Thank you so much. It means a lot coming from you.
It's a
And well, you did a score for this former assistant of mine, Chad Cannon, and
Yes.
and Chad came and was just absolutely.
Oh, he's a fantastic being.
He's a great musician. He's a wonderful, yeah. So it's
and ever since I went to the Synchron Stage last summer just to visit there, I've been looking for an excuse to come again. So I'm ready to be there as well to help you guys.
Yes, it will be great.
Now,
And
when I ask Stefan, what has been, as we coming back now, since we have a little limited time, what has been right now added things? I mean, I think we spoke about the wonderful equipment you have, of course, these outstanding pianos that you feature, that incredible percussion section, if you want to call it, with all these instruments. Have you been doing some adding on to it? I think you mentioned a couple of things. I think you have now
yes.
four pianos. So what's happening?
Yeah, well, we're we're collecting the best instruments we can get. We've had 3 concert grants since the beginning, or pretty much since the beginning, but we added a Fazioli F308, the biggest piano concert grant there is. That has been in our studio. They're all studio owned, stored in our facility. And we also, last year, we added a lot of ethnic percussion, even more ethnic percussion. We have huge, our cellar is full with toys, really, to play around with. You can never let a percussionist go down in there because he will try to sneak out and get lost and stay there the whole night, because it's just so many things you can play around with. And that will be really amazing to see what the HME students will do with these instruments, because they're waiting for you to be played, to be used, to be performed, and really going to be interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's actually exciting to hear. So, because I remember Conrad wrote this wonderful piece for those 3 pianos. Of course, he also did something with the percussion, but I remember that piece for the 3 pianos, which was outstanding, and I wish I could find it, because it highlighted the acoustic difference of them, So that would be mix the Fazzoli into the whole thing. That would be really something to, yeah.
Yes.
well, I understand Fazzoli, the maker of it is actually a furniture maker. Who's the son of and now he's made like one of the finest instruments in the world. But he's really, because he went, well, somebody should do something like this. Fascinating.
Yes.
So that
Yeah, and that's one of the good things about Europe. Everything's so close, so we were able actually to drive down to Italy, witness the facility where they make those pianos, and test drive every single instrument, and talk to the owner, and get our piano tuner, got a lesson in how to tune the Fazioli pianos. So that was, everything about that is just magical, and yeah.
Oh, it's like what do you call it? A candy store for a composer. Is that
Yes.
maybe
But,
that's a good comparison.
And
Conrad,
also,
yeah,
please.
Conrad, but may I just
please, yeah.
because I remember Conrad first time he and I walked onto the stage, and I remember the expression in Conrad's face. You had that. It was like we had entered Versailles or Schönbrunn for the time, you know. It
For
was
music, we had.
right. And the impression of that room is so phenomenal because, as I said, I don't want to sound kitschy, but it's really true. It's almost like a sanctum when you enter the place. There is a history to it, of course, somewhat a wild one too, because it had survived the war. But it was incredible to see how you guys refurnished the whole thing, how you guys actually redid the stage to that what it was. Because initially, when I first time saw it, it was almost a ruin, it was in ruins. And you guys built it up so incredible, which I could have never imagined. First time when I saw it, I thought, I like to see what they're going to really make out of this thing. But you really did, and Herb with his ideas, and of course the rest of the crew, which is, by the way, outstanding. I have to admit, I mean, you guys are really right there.
Thank you.
And, when finally everything came together, together with this incredible sound booth, and the attention to detail was also very interesting, very, very down to everything was right there. But you really feel like you entered the sanctum, and then the first few notes I played in there, and of course when I did the Nan Schwartz's piece Romanza, and it was just and it helped us also. The sound is so phenomenal; it helps tremendously with the time to record. So basically, you get better results with that phenomenal acoustics, and the acoustics can help immensely to get the product to that level that you really would want to have it at.
Yeah,
that's what I mentioned. I mean,
and it's for me, it never wears off. Every time I go into that hall, I get goosebumps. Really, I can't help it. It's just, it's like, as you say, it's a sanctum. That's a really great word. And yeah.
And if you're lucky, and I hope you guys still have that. It was one thing many years ago. I was there during the wintertime because I was working with you guys for 3 years. And I remember I went through the winter season and looking and recording a beautiful piece of music. For example, Lauren Bals's when we did The Planet.
Blue Planet, yeah.
Which was a fantastic score. And also, it sounds phenomenal when they're recording the result that came out of. But I remember one of the days I was looking out, and you could actually look out and see the snowfall. So, very beautiful music. You have a fantastic sound, and you see actually outside snow falling. The atmosphere was tremendous. So I have to admit, the atmosphere was wonderful. So
hopefully, no snow in July.
Well, it was not. Yeah, unfortunately, that's the only problem. So you got to be good in the wintertime, But anyway, Conrad, would you add anything, or basically you look forward to coming there in the summertime?
I look forward to coming back to the Synchron Stage. I always look forward to coming to Vienna because it is the capital of music, at least in my mind, and for many people. And that to go and make music in a place like the Synchron Stage, which is as welcoming as the Concertsaal downtown, and for any of the great other beautifully acoustic buildings and concert venues in Vienna. Dimitrie says, and the thing I would say is what's so great about it is that I like Sony, where we record here in LA, but you go in and it looks like it's under construction. Even though it's got fantastic stuff, it's kind of like it's an industrial space. And what's so great about Synchron is that you think this is a place where beautiful music can be made, and it makes you feel relaxed and able to do your best. And so, with the support that everyone gives at the stage, I think that the composers that come this summer, they'll want to come back with more pieces. And they'll learn something from the crew, from all of you, and hopefully from me. And so, thank you so much for opening up and supporting young composers and letting people know that you're behind their efforts. And it's really great, Stefan, and can't wait to come this summer.
Let's talk about the engineering side of. I don't think we mentioned. Only thing I can say, maybe as an introduction, is that Conrad said maybe pay attention to who you get as your orchestrator, but even more so, pay attention to who's your engineer. So yeah, we'd love to hear about that.
Yeah. So Martin Weismeier will be engineering the sessions with the Hollywood Music Workshop, and he is one of our main engineers. He's been there from the very beginning, really, and he really knows his stuff and is very much concentrated on making the composers happy, because it's really at the end of the day, the composer has to be happy, and it has to be exactly the sound the composer envisioned. So that will be very interesting. And Martin has a huge wealth of experience. It's really most recent credits of the projects he's worked on is actually Marvel Daredevil. Born Again, the most recent Marvel show, he worked on that as an engineer. Craven the Hunter with a score by Benjamin Wallfish. That's also something Martin recorded. Godzilla vs. Kong, The New Empire, with a score by Tom Holkenborg, Junkie XL, and Antonio De Diorio. And actually even Captain America 4, the Brave New World. That's actually the first Marvel feature film that has not been recorded in London. And that one has been recorded in Vienna by Pete Cobbin and Kirsty Wally and Martin Weismeyer, because they haven't been able to be in Vienna for all the sessions. So Martin is the guy. He's hugely talented, and really, really looking forward to what the magic sauce he will add to the Hollywood Music Workshop project.
Can't wait to meet
He's also
Martin.
a very nice guy, very nice gentleman,
and also
and very nice guy. Really
and the control room. I mean,
so that's great.
Yeah, that is great, and the control room is beautiful as well. Well, as you know, the control room is almost bigger than many other studios.
Yes, yeah. There's room for plenty of people, 25 people easily fit in there. Everybody has great sound in the room. We took extra special care of for that. And and he's a super nice guy. I can really also, like Dimitrie, what you said. He's very open-minded. He's very smart. He knows when to say something, and also when not to say something. That's really a rare breed, really, of people.
He puts you at ease, which is very good. Because people who come there, some already experienced, but a lot of them, it will be the first time. And the first time can be overwhelming, being in that place and seeing everything around you. So having a well-meaning attitude next to you and giving you this feeling like you're being taken care of. And that's why I recommended you guys so much, because I remember even specifically Sabine, also from you, of course, you were always there with a friendly smile and put people at ease. And so was Sabine, of course. You added personal touch, which is phenomenal. And I think this is actually what was from the beginning very present, was your attitude. That what puts people at ease and also helps them in their project output, where they get the best result out of it, not having to look over their shoulders. Is they're being laughed at or ridiculed or something, Again, I just want to tell you guys, you have really a winner with that stage, and living in Hollywood, talking about you guys and speaking to other sound engineers, even for sound engineers, the upcoming generation, a place where they would like to be one day. So Europe goes everywhere. So please keep doing what you keep doing, Must be something right, okay? And again, I look forward to seeing what's going to happen in the summertime. I'm looking forward to all these folks that are going to come and visit. And so let's make the most out of it. Let's have the biggest fun, whatever have in their lives with it, and anything you guys can add to it, please do so. We just like to also know about those things. All right. Good.
Exactly. Yeah, we will do that.
Dankeschön. Thank you.